time I mean. All right, we are live. Welcome again, man. My good buddy Mark, Tiny Spawny, and of course, Daniel Henriques, Jonathan Glapion, back again to talk the Curse of Shirley Johnson. Oh my gosh, man. Can you believe that this thing sold out so fast and now we're going back to print? And we were just talking before we hit live, the cover that is about to be released. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll pull it up. But guys, you're in for a treat, man. But yeah, congratulations on a banger of a first issue. Really kind of a thick, almost double issue to start off. I almost feel like that's the route that they should be going on all these titles, just because you're able to get enough meat to capture you. And man, what a story. I cannot wait to dig in. But before we get into all that, Jonathan, I saw you at Fan Expo Dallas. It was great to meet you in person. Daniel,
did I ignore you?
We're going to see you hopefully real soon. You'll be at New York. But how are you two doing? Have you recovered, Jonathan, or are you doing well, Daniel?
I'm not recovered, no. Just real quick, was I sketching when you came to the table?
You were. I was telling Daniel you weren't doing autographs or anything, like you were just doing sketches. So
okay.
I just want to say hi real quick. I didn't want to bother you, but I wasn't.
So yeah, you should have said more, because it was like, okay, I know when you came now, because Daniel told me, and I was like, why would I have ignored him? And there was a little sign that said I was sketching, right? Yeah, because I had I had commissions, so my wife had to put that sign up because I kept getting books to sign, and I was having to stop. And the guys who need their commissions done were leaving in a couple of hours, so I was like, I couldn't like stop anymore. So sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. Act like I didn't.
No.
I felt bad when you
were. No. You were kind. Everything was great. I just wanted to say hi and thank you for coming on the first time. And then to give you a little bit of trouble because Daniel wasn't there with you. And then I wanted to leave you alone because I knew you were doing sketches. And I assume when I saw you, he's probably doing commissions, trying to get caught up before he has to start signing.
Yeah, which is why I don't like to do commissions at shows. That's why I don't like to do them.
Yeah, I understand. But, you know, it is a business, so I'm sure that, you know, that's part of the gig, right?
Yeah, got to be able to eat.
Got to be able to eat. Well, I feel like between Mark and I, we had an amazing meal. We got to eat, and this bad boy fed us, and it was a lot of fun. I will say the only thing, and again, the lettering is awesome, but you got to have at least one issue that is lettered by the great Tom. He's been lettering for 35 years for Spawn. I'm sure you know Tom. I love Tom. I got to meet him at C2E2, and I think I got an issue, like a random issue, like 10 signed by him. And he, you know what he did is he went in and he opened it and he started reading it after he signed it. And he goes, I never get to read these. I just do the lettering and I move on to the next one. He goes, let me see what this one was about. It was awesome, man. But he's great. But anyways, flawless issue one.
But about that, actually, now that we can say this, because Tom was our pick. Like, we were like, okay, we want Tom because, you know, from the first issue, well, until now, but all of the connection to it. And, you know, with Thomas Healy and everything, it's like, yeah, you guys go for it. And we even talked with Tom and everything. And then what ended up happening was we had a lot of crazy, and by we, I think in this part was probably a little bit more me, because like I want to have all of that crazy lettering that Tom was doing in the beginning. Like there will be phases where Shirley's speech will be all chaotic, and like I want that look. But then when we started like experimenting with some stuff, even just on my end and what we were trying to do, it just wasn't working in the sense that I wanted. And Thomas was like, this is going to be a lot for Tom on the amount of books that he's doing. If you guys are following this route, we're going to have to get you somebody else because there's a lot of experimentation. And then sadly, we ended up pulling the reins back, and we probably would have worked perfectly, but at that point we were already working with Enwell Design and everything, so it's just the way it stayed. But that was the initial plan.
No, I'm a big Tom fan. The guy, a legend, man. Like if there was a baseball Hall of Fame, like a comic book Hall of Fame, he should be in there. The guy is just a legend when it comes to lettering, and obviously really good at it. And then you got to have like CNN, Fox News, and some other random one, just like Todd used to do with like a book worth of dialogue. You're like, holy crap, that's a lot to read. So, but man, a flawless issue 1, guys. You must be super proud. And obviously, I'm not just saying that. It's sold out immediately, and we are getting a second print. But I don't know, Mark, jump in, man. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I loved it. And the fact that, you know, we had the 1 in 50 Otley cover didn't help it, you know,
right.
a lot either. I had to get this one. We're not going to talk about the stack of additional covers that I have here that I've already given one away, but yeah, I got a stack to go through.
Sorry, not sorry.
No. Believe me, of any of the books that I've had to buy multiple copies of, I truly love this book, but it was not what I expected based on this card, because really that's all I had to, you know, we had to go off of for the story. And I was also basing that off of like your cover art, because your cover art has a lot of like sharp lines and edges. And when I opened up the book, I really had to do a double take. Is that Jonathan doing interiors? Because I haven't seen this style before. And dude, I love it. Like the different expressions that you give to Shirley, like, was great. And she can go from like sweet and innocent to vicious, like with the snap of a finger. And you killed it on the interiors. But I got to say, you said you didn't want to draw cars or buildings, and I was looking. I did see a couple of buildings as you were doing it. But the one other thing I want to say about the dialogue, though, and I think a couple people I saw like in the comments were thinking it was like a misprint or like a typo, but where you had the lettering like very, very faint. I understand what that meant. Like they're hearing this like in the distance, like it's not in their realm, but stuff is starting to merge, so they're hearing like this faint voice, you know, in the background.
That's exactly what the idea was. Like, it's coming, you know, like, because we've had, and this is all stuff that will be explained, mentioned further down the line, because, you know, for example, in Rat City, you also had Spawn's big necroplasm thing ripped through the book and starts a chain of events, but ours has a different thing, which is Shirley is actually listening to Spawn's voice. Why is that? And it came with the explosion. So none of that is random. Again, we spent a lot of time, really owning all of this. There's so many tiny little references that I think most people missed, which in a good way, because we didn't want to make it overbearing. We were hoping that, you know, further down the line, people will kind of come back and be like, oh, you know, kind of thing. But that is the idea. There's that part, which is when Spawn's voice is coming in, and then there's the other when Shirley's eaten by Bellefon's hounds, and she's kind of going in them, so her speech is also kind of fading in and fading out. Then when the stranger hacks them all out, so that was the idea behind that.
Yeah, my favorite. This is probably one of my favorite parts as far as like the dialogue goes, but it's on the page where he is trying to save her, and on this panel here, like, you can tell what I'm talking about. It starts out light, but then it fades into like into where we are. And I thought that was really cool. Like it tells you like it's coming. It's came through. Whoever's talking to her, or whoever's talking has now passed through. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool.
It's dope, man.
Yeah, we are trying. I think the fact that it's our first time doing this also makes us bold in being like, we want to do it this kind of way. And
we don't know each other, so I think it's like where you're saying some people might have been confused or thought it was a misprint, and you know, in hindsight, maybe that was a bad idea. Who knows? But I think
no, it would.
Well, I agree with you guys, but like other people might think, you know, so I think sometimes not having all the answers or will allow you to kind of experiment. And we wanted to, like, it's funny that you said that about the art style sort of in the interiors
you threw me off
my covers.
Yes.
Because look, so, and I don't say this like in one way or the other, but you're going to see an evolution in my art because it will naturally happen. But I went through so many different trying to figure myself out in the interiors that it just like when you see the later issues where we're at now, you'll see the growth. You'll see the style kind of evolving. Yeah, but it's not like I hope it's not like you open the door and it's like something completely different. Not that I have a problem with that, but hopefully it's a gradual where you see a ramping up of it getting a bit better or more refined. I'm starting to kind of feel my way around the characters a bit. So,
and actually, when it comes to your art, there like a couple of the choices that you made, like for the direction, like for the perspective of the reader, like on the first page, the bottom right hand corner of that panel where it shows, that that's her eye looking out the door and she's seeing the chain and that beam of light on her eye. I love that panel because
nice, thank you.
It says everything that it needs to say. She's peering out, and then
a little sliver of hope.
And then the one other time that I can remember you did it, you were showing the camera angle from the throat of the beast, where you could see the teeth, and then Shirley was laying on the ground. I like those little touches that you added, just to kind of give you a different perspective.
Thank you.
And the fun thing about what you were saying about that initial page 1 with the eye and everything, because and you guys also mentioned in the beginning that's like, we didn't really know what to expect. That in itself was such a challenge because for like a year, or over a year, we've been talking about the book and we did interviews and the date got moved a bunch of stuff a bunch of times and we could never give much away. If you even go back and see, we only gave away those initial pages, which is she's in a fridge, she's looking, Spawn goes away. In the pages we shared was of Spawn and Billy, like everything to not elude that it take place in hell. We didn't want to spoil that right away because there's a lot of reasons for all of that. I think a lot of people were expecting maybe more of almost a crime thing, more like something on Earth, directly, like immediately a fight with Spawn or Kinkaid or something like that. And it really is. It's going to go to a lot of different places, but it is like at heart her story. Like, because again, it's not just that Spawn forgot her or that she got murdered, is where she ended and how she's going to impact the universe around her. But just that hiding of what the story actually was, that was a journey in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, right away,
Daniel was very protective.
I was.
This double page spread is so incredible. Like, I would love to have this as a poster, man. This is insane.
Well, what's funny about that is, people won't realize it, but that's my first double page spread ever. Like,
oh, really?
I'd never done a double page spread before.
That's crazy.
I like how the cape is reaching for the handle of the knife that Billy's reaching for.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're not.
Thank you. Yeah, but I was nervous all the way through all of that, so.
Yep.
Even the dialogue in there, you really know where Shirley is at that time and what she's feeling and the frustration and anger and almost disappointment that she feels she's been wronged. Like there was an opportunity for Spawn to do the right thing in her eyes, and he didn't.
Yeah. Well, and it's that whole thing of she's at heart, she still wants to have hope that he's going to save her one time. Like, because she keeps reliving that, but to a certain degree. And that's why in the beginning, her dialogue is a bit harsher of, my knight in bullshit armor, go on, make him suffer. That, because in my head was like, if she's gone through this so many times, at this point, she's hoping to be saved, but the only satisfaction that she can have is Spawn mangling her killer, really. So it's a pretty vicious story, but I think it goes to a happy place eventually.
I love the viciousness of it, though. It's incredible.
Yeah, I do like that. Honestly, I mean, we find out later that her anger is misguided. So I mean, I do like that fact of it, and I'm not asking you if it will, but like now in my mind, it makes me think that at some point they're going to either reconcile or have a heart to heart. I don't know. That's just me speculating. But yeah, she's definitely not. Her anger is definitely misguided, but she doesn't know any different.
Well, that's the thing now, and that's why I said our book is a little bit different in that aspect. And even I will speak for myself. I was a little bit nervous at the reaction because I'm also doing, and we're doing it with the storytelling, something that most books don't do, which is we're not really setting up anything or introducing a lot. Because and there's no narration other than Shirley thinking to herself, and it's always going to be like that. Because I want it to be like, no, we're discovering everything that's happening with Shirley in a universe that's 365 issues. That's why, and there's old faces that show up, for example, like Boots, and I don't introduce any of that. It's going to be explained. Bear in mind, everything that's happening will be explained when she gets to it. But that alone for me was a little bit nerve-wracking because I know, there's certain rules to storytelling, and we wanted it to be somewhat almost disorientating like it is to her for the reader. And now we're growing with her in this journey. So there might be a lot of unanswered questions that will all be answered when she gets to them.
Well, I think one of the things, if Daniel, if you remember, one of the things that we both tend to like in movies is when things aren't always explained. I don't know if it translates well for comics, but that's the whole taking risk kind of thing. We don't know any better, so let's just try it.
Yeah.
But we talked about that in the very, very beginning of like, why does it have to be explained?
Yeah.
Like, or at least why does it have to be explained right now? Like sometimes just noticing something seems a bit off is interesting to think about just on your own. Like, I don't think everything is fun to read when it's all just explained away,
No.
No, I think also a little desire for you to come back too, right? Because, and also it's fun, and the reason why, and Mark jump in, but the reason why we love comic books so much is because usually not the entire story is told to you, so it allows our imagination to fill in the gaps too, and then that's the whole point of comic books. And I thought that was laid out perfectly. There was enough information to know what was going on at that moment. You laid down the foundation of where Shirley's at, her frustration, and it led to somewhere now that wants you to come back, obviously, for issue 2. But there are some things where you could kind of go off, and now I'm waiting to see, like you said, Mark, will there be a reconciliation at some point between Shirley and Spawn? And if it is, what does that look like? Or is there something else that's going to come in and create even a larger divide between those two? Again, obviously we have to wait and see what happens, but I felt like there was a really good foundation for that, and I'm all in for it, guys. I think this is dope, man.
Yeah, I think you guys taking off and doing this, and say you're experimenting with new things. I would say experiment away. I was very satisfied with this issue. There was the pacing. There's enough of a story to where we know what's going on, but definitely plenty of unanswered questions. But I mean, those are going to be explained in later issues. But the stuff that you don't explain or don't tell us, we can kind of get an idea of it in our mind's eye and come up with our own conclusion. And maybe we could be wrong. I mean, I was wrong about the book, but I'm not mad at myself.
I think that's the fun of the way it's written, the way Daniel crafted it, is that you might be wrong, and that's the fun part. Like,
it is,
because I think if you're getting stuff wrong, then you're reading it and you're like invested, so it's okay to get some of that stuff wrong because everything is for a reason,
but that's the fun of it. That's the fun of it. If I'm wrong, I'm not going to get mad and stop reading your book, but I'll definitely reevaluate my thinking.
And the thing is, again, this is an ongoing book. Again, it's going to keep going as long as the reader is supporting it. Because right now, and again, whether Shirley eventually clashes with Spawn or does not, or with Kinkaid, it depends on how far the story extends in a sense. Because right now she's in hell, because when we kept saying that we're exploring a corner that was never explored. There's been stories in hell. Spawn has all of that connection, but it has not been very like we are really expanding. In my mind, in our mind, hell is almost like heaven, infinite in its expanse. So it's not that they won't meet, but when will they meet, or even what's now the ramifications of what Shirley is going to be going through? Who knows if she meets any character that will get grudges over Spawn 2, and that character then meets up with Spawn and something happens. There's like a lot of possibilities, and we do have a pretty like roadmap of what we're doing already that goes to like towards like a great span of the story.
Yeah,
it is,
and I
like
mean,
I said,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go.
And I mean, we talk a lot about Shirley. You know, we forget about the stranger.
Yes.
In this, where does he fall in this reconciliation? Who knows?
Yep.
Maybe that's not what he wants.
Yeah.
His name is Mav or Maeve.
No, that was that guy in no, that was Mal was that guy that shows up in blue talking to
Okay.
to Boots.
Yes.
Which is again part of that interaction right away. And like I said, I'm not explaining a lot. And we enter when Boots is introduced, it's already in talks with this character, and we can see that there's story there. Even the fact that we see Boots for the last time, issue 75, if I'm not mistaken, is the last time Boots shows up.
Last time Boots was in an issue was 87.
Was it 87? Okay.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yep.
And we see.
Yes.
I want to say it's 75, but I could be wrong. When he's taken by the angels.
Okay, maybe it was Bobby then that was 87.
I can be wrong. Again, I have it written, but
I could be.
But my thing is because he was just taken, and because of his love for humans per se and breaking the rules over Al, and what happened to him, and in this case we see him. He's been in hell. We have this whole thing, and it's not really giving spoilers. There's heaven forces stationed in hell trying to kind of steal souls for their own purpose. And Boots has been there. He already has. Again, that's part of the not wanting to introduce everything. Like, every time you get a new Spider-Man, you go through the, Grandpa and, Peter Parker with great power comes. We didn't want. It's a vast universe. Shirley landed in the middle of it. And now we're going to discover what it. But like I said, there's already a lot of story since 75 to 365 of what has Boots been doing up until now. Same with, what's been happening to Shirley. Even, like I said, hell is a very big space. It's not just, we always have this little story around the throne, and before it was Malbolgia, Nyx, all of that. But hell expands much, much, much further than that.
And I love that too, because we're getting to see parts of hell we've never seen before. And that really helps to drive that point, I think, Daniel, of hell being almost infinite. And I cannot wait. I mean, some of the graphics and the storytelling that were taking place specifically in like part 2 is absolutely incredible. So if you want to know more about what hell looks like within this universe, man, this is probably the issue that expands the most out of any book that I've read in the Spawn universe.
Yeah, and it's a fast-paced book per se, where one of the things we wanted to show is how vicious hell is. And again, Jonathan's art, like especially the end of that second part, when they're literally, because with Spawn you always have this big evil, this mastermind. In this case, they just ran up against hell's fauna, and it's ruthless. And I mean, I love those pages that Jonathan did. Like I'm in love with those pages.
I love. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I said I did want to bring up because Daniel said his name like 8-10 times now. Bootsy. When I saw him, I audibly yelled out loud "Bootsy" as soon as I saw him on the page.
Oh, that's cool.
It was just awesome. Like, the fact that you guys are, you're staying within that universe, and like you said, it could be issue 75. We have not seen Boots left, but I'm on the same team as Eric there in the comments. He says can't have Bootsy without Bobby. Like, hey, I've been missing Bobby. Like, we never saw what happened to him, but Todd can take care of that in the main title.
Well, again, it's one of those things, because Bootsy he didn't just leave. He was forcibly removed as a
Yeah,
traitor.
he had to be. Yeah, he had to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So
They took him.
What's a very appropriate punishment for an angel who broke the laws is to be destituted into hell. He's part of the low forces of hell, per se, or of heaven in hell. So there's a big story behind them. Bring back Bobby.
Hashtag bring back Bobby.
We need
I like that.
His story is untold.
Sure. We need T-shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
But that, but in doing that, with having characters like Bootsy in there. I mean, because we have Al, but I mean that really helps ground it in this. Within the Spawn universe, that we still have the same, the same people that are in the story, and just to see him, I audibly yelled out loud, "Bootsy!" It was really cool.
Nice.
No, it for me, it's really fun to be able to play within the universe because, like I said, we are creating the story like 95% original, but it is within a universe, so it makes only sense that some of these things clash. As a big Spawn fan myself, I think I mentioned it before, I get comps from the work that I do, but I still have Spawn on a monthly on my pull list, and I will keep buying it. So it's very hard to not put stuff in. But when I say put stuff in, it's because I know the story, and it's like this. I'm not trying to shoehorn things. It just makes sense from the story that we created. Because, like, for example, in this might spoil something. It's not a big thing because you find out right away in the first pages of issue 2. But there's another character that I think most people didn't recognize just because of how different he is, which is the character that shows up in the epilogue with that big carrier of cities, we call him. If you notice, it's a vampire with no eyes with an S on his forehead. He appeared before.
That's right. You had told us who that was, and it's
Simon Pure.
Simon, yeah. Yes.
He shows up in 100 and something. I don't remember. It's around that. It's in the Angel Medina run. And it also, he has like a 3-4 arc issue, and it's with Twitch's son when it gets turned into a vampire and everything. He was a very devout vampire. They believe they were descendants of Jesus. Mm-hmm. So it seems like a weird thing, but again, it makes sense within what we're creating. Why did he survive? Why is he there? Like all of that, like I said, it's stuff that will be answered, and it's really fun to play with and see how they clash with this new story that we're creating. Yeah. And Jonathan with the redesign, because we were talking about that, and Jonathan was getting all kinds of ideas. Because again, he's been in hell at this point, who knows for how long. Yeah. A vampire in hell, which is not even supposed to happen. They don't have souls. They don't go to hell. So again, there's a lot there, and the design that Jonathan did is just badass.
100%, absolutely. I love that on this page you're able to fit in No Home Here. Because we were talking about that was the original title, right?
Yep.
And when I read that, I'm like, I got it in anyways, man. I love that.
Well,
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. You go, John. You go. I haven't shut up. You can go.
So the funny thing is, if you read that, it says there is no home here.
Yeah.
That was the original title.
Really?
There is no home here.
Yep. There is no home here. And it was because of that line.
Yep.
In the book, and on the last page. And we thought it was really cool. You might not really understand it until you read it. Yeah. But then once you read it, we felt like it'll mean more to you.
Absolutely.
And so then I got a phone call from Todd when I was buying shoes.
In San Diego.
Yeah. And he said, so that title, There Is No Home Here, how do you think Daniel would feel if we change that? And I was like, I don't know. What do you have in mind? He's like, well, I mean, Wanda has a PhD, and I don't think she's going to remember There Is No Home Here. And so I told him, I was like, well, Wanda has a PhD. I think she's going to remember There Is No Home Here. She's smarter than all of us. But I get your point. So that's why I got shortened to No Home Here, because that was kind of like in our head. It still worked.
Was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, but actually, even before that, because you're saying that There Is No Home Here was the title per se, and for a very long time it was not. We just wanted, you created that image with the sword.
Oh,
It was the first image that came out, which is a big skull with a sword in it, that we were like, God, we got to put something out there. And it just, we don't have a title. It's like, well, how about the last line of the book? It's pretty cool. Let's just put it as a quote. It wasn't the name of the book.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Let's just put it as a quote so we didn't ask for permission, Todd, Thomas, or anything. We just put it out there. And it kind of, because that's why, and then Todd called Jonathan, like, I'm the boogeyman and he can't tell me no. But it got changed and it became the name. You were like, well, actually, we like that. It also works. And like, again, we didn't wrote that last line in favor of keeping the name. That was from the beginning how it always ended. But still, No Home Here ended up being dethroned at less minutes. So
at the last minute.
Yes.
It all worked out, though. It all worked out.
Yeah.
And that makes perfect sense, too.
Oh, I have my... Just knock something off. Right up here above me, right there is the Teddy action figure that I made.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I didn't know what to... I said, I didn't know what to put with the book. And I was like, I bet you my kids have a stuffed animal somewhere.
Yeah. The day I see someone cosplaying as Shirley with that teddy
That's
bear
really
like that,
badass.
I'm gonna cry. Yeah.
I'm murdering.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that
made
is the spirit of the book.
My first official action figure. So it's...
You see this, Todd? Are you watching this?
Todd is watching.
Hey, Todd shared this and didn't send me a letter suing me for copyright. So yeah, we're good.
Nice.
But is Teddy gonna have like any part in the story, or is he just there with Shirley? I think you just answered my question. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but it's cool, man. I like him because she's like her comfort blanket, I guess, because he was the Teddy has been there with her through this.
Yes.
So that's kind of who she is
all this
kind
time,
of,
right?
Yeah, because again, that's another thing that we keep, not say we keep forgetting, but I think sometimes it might be because it's like, oh, she was suffering and everything, and we just think about, oh, she got mutilated and everything. That's terrible. But what about the mental of not having a single person to talk to for who knows how long? We haven't explored that yet, which is going to be a fun road of where she's been and how long as she's been. But yes, Teddy has been her only comfort that she has. That's why a lot of times she speaks for the both of them and not just as one, because it's been her only comfort.
Yeah. My so the Teddy T is, there's the significance of that is my wife's father, who was passed away. I told Daniel, I was like, because we had a different name. He had a different name for the thing. And so I was like, can we change the name? Because my wife used to call her dad Teddy T. She used to call him Teddy T Tucker, badass motherfucker.
That's cool.
That's what she used to say. So I wanted to do that for her. So that's might not mean anything to anybody else, but I thought it was interesting. We were on an interview, and I believe Todd said that Shirley, the way Shirley's name is spelled, was his mom's name.
Yep.
So and his mom passed away. So I was like, yeah, we got dead people all.
Yep.
So
that's cool though, man. It obviously brings a little more depth to that too, knowing.
Let me say this another thing too, because I think it's fun to do these kind of things. And, these are things that kind of I like to do that make you kind of want to go look back. But so I probably talked about this before. So page 1, panel 2, the refrigerator with the pizza box.
Oh yeah,
you told me about that.
About the Unky Dan.
Mm-hmm.
So
go ahead.
Watch it, please. Yeah.
Unky Dan's pizza is Unky Dan is what our daughter Parker calls Daniel. She calls him Unky Dan. So I made a Unky Dan's pizza box thing, and I want to do Unky Dan pizza T-shirts. So we'll be working on some merch
for Unky Dan's pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we'll put his real phone number. On the
right? Yeah.
Like, order here.
Right.
You're not going to get in 30 minutes or less where he lives.
Right.
It's going to take a minute.
Yeah.
So you guys are obviously, going into the Spawn universe and having characters in your story. Is there anything that, like Todd has said, is like off limits that you guys can't put in there? Like anybody could appear in the story at any time.
And Todd will probably find out when he gets comps. We don't discuss anything.
No, you just do it.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not saying
that's when the book ends and we're fired.
Right. Yeah, and we're not we're not saying this as, well, we're rebels or whatever. It's just been like this. We created the story. When we showed the initial story to Todd, we already had it mapped out until issue 12 and kind of the guidelines until issue 50. And Thomas and Todd liked where we were going, and so far. And there is some, I don't want to overhype things, but there's some crazy shit coming.
I think
for lack of a better wording.
I think for Daniel, it's like he knows enough about the universe to respect it, to not step on things just to make our book be this thing. So,
no.
Like he said, it's like everything's for a reason.
Right.
So I think maybe that's why we haven't really run into any problems. Maybe that's not how you feel, Daniel. I don't know.
No, it 100% is, because again, the book takes place in current times, more or less.
I was going to ask that. If it's
yes,
parallel. So it's parallel to the current Spawn story.
It is. It's happening I know it starts a little bit behind,
right? Yeah.
Again, it is because it starts around 301 with the explosion. But again, this is not a spoiler. It gets talked about in issue 2. Like they are in this pocket of hell run by the necromancer Bellefonte, where he has all of this time loop experiments and everything. So time passes different there. So it's catching up to the main title very, very quickly from 301 to 350 to 365 or whatever it is right now. So it is taking place in current times, but we're by no means trying to mix it with the original story, with the main title, that is. So if anything ends up, like kind of merging per se, it's not impacting one or the other. And maybe some characters do show up even in issue 2, but they are their own things. And like Jonathan said, I do know enough of the universe to not infringe on it. So any characters that might appear, or even storylines that might be created with Shirley and the Stranger, it's by no means trying to, let's put this in the main book. No, we want to explore our little corner, because if we actually start getting it to a point that it's mixed with the main book, then we'll lose the freedom that we have to create. Because then we have to follow guys like, Rory and all of those guys, they're working with the big players. They all have to be in the same page in what we're doing. And we just want freedom to do, for lack of a better wording, our weird little story.
Yeah. So, I like what Corey is saying, by the way. That's probably like what we had in mind, like from the very beginning, to just kind of, want you to want these new characters and allow us to create new things to truly expand the universe. And everybody's not going to look like Spawn.
No.
No.
Especially as big as hell is, right? We've seen, like you said, mainly around the throne. What does the rest of it look like? And what do those people and those other parts of hell look like? Like there's no limit from an imagination standpoint.
I mean,
I'll go, right? Because again, we've only seen a very small section of hell throughout Spawn for the most part, right? And so this gives you freedom to kind of go in all kind, like what kind of caves and what kind of like, I don't know, ditches where certain types of beings live. I mean, there's so many cool things that I think you can do.
I think a lot of what me and Daniel talk about too a lot is because sometimes freedom creates a problem. It's very you would think all the freedom in the world makes things easier. It doesn't. It kind of it comes with its own complications. But what me and Daniel do both like the same is the scale of things. So we like a lot of art that depicts sort of like the scale where you might see this tiny character in this massive thing. But like so a lot of times for me, it's like, oh man, I gotta try to think of like, what could vegetation look like in hell?
Yeah.
You know, does it look like crazy looking coral that we would see in the sea, or you can do whatever now. So it's just constantly trying to figure out interesting things and how to twist things. But I just wanted to, I don't. This is not anything with the other books because I can't even keep up with. I just draw. But we just wanted something a bit reminiscent of the times where Spawn felt a bit dark.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like in the shadows and that kind of thing is where we both like really loved that sort of era of Spawn. I think now it's a bit more for old school guys. Spawn I think is a bit more vibrant.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how I feel. I'm not like knocking, what's going on. Everybody's doing their own thing, and it's really great. But that's what we're pulling those strings from that. Even this is like I don't know. This is a thing that you guys might have picked up on, or maybe not. But you'll definitely, when I tell you, you'll look at the other books and you'll look at this book again, and you'll notice it. If you notice, our book doesn't have a lot of those white borders.
Yeah.
That all of the main titles have.
Yeah.
And and this is the reason, was because when I was like latched on to Spawn, is like Greg is the best Spawn artist that ever did Spawn. And I love the way the gutters, the blacks from the gutters leaked into the panels, into the shadow, into the characters. And in the beginning, we were like, how do we not do the white borders? Because we both had like the shapes that get created from not having the border. And we even did a pass with those white borders. There was a pass with those white borders. Yeah, there was a pass with the white borders, and we were like, how do we get those off? I get it in keeping everything, cohesive, everything having that look. But I don't think everything needs to have the same look. And I definitely felt like, okay, we're doing our own thing. We can't have the white borders.
Yeah.
If we're really doing our own thing.
And again, we do have reasons for it. Because again, like for example, I'm inking some Brett Boot, and I'm pointing, you guys are not seeing anything, but I'm inking some Brett Boot pages right now for one of the Spawn issues just to help out. And they don't have any white borders. That's just something that they do in production after. And it's just to help clarity, especially Spawn the way that it is right now. So many characters, everything. It does help. But again, the way that we're doing it, the way Jonathan is doing the storytelling, like he said, he is really planning everything around the blacks, like Greg used to do and everything. And in this, we had this conversation. We were going to both bring it to Todd, but then it ended up being on a call that I was with Todd. And also to mention what you guys were saying of like how much is Todd telling you what you can or cannot do. So in this call, Todd just wanted to see the dialogue, what I was doing. And we got on the phone. We were talking about it. And I started being like, oh, Todd, and this line here is going to go to this issue, and we're gonna talk about this, and Shirley's gonna, and Todd literally, Daniel, let me stop you right there. I'm already sold on the story. You guys are doing it. I don't want to know anything else. Just keep doing the story. Like, we're here just to talk about the dialogue. I'm like, well, I mean, that's great. And then I mentioned, like, and one more thing, Todd, like how attached are you to having the white borders on all of the books? And he gave me his reason about clarity and all of that. And I was like, well, it's just because Jonathan and me, we would really love it if they weren't there in our book. And Todd was like, why? Well, because, Jonathan is planning all of the storytelling. He put a lot of thought into all of this. We don't think it needs it. And literally, and Todd turns to me and was like, well, then show me. Show me without the borders. And I shot him a couple of pages without the borders. And it literally went through like 3 or 4 pages. Okay, yep, this is solid. Yep, good. Yep, nope. Okay, doesn't need it. Tell them, your book doesn't need it. If by any chance anything appears, I think it needs it, we'll talk then, but just take it out. It's like
I love it.
great. And like
Yeah.
as far as production, like we've been having total freedom and no
Yeah.
problems at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love you.
Very, very lucky.
Old school feel about this title too, and I think I didn't recognize that the borders weren't there until you said that. But now I look back,
I didn't either.
I realized that that's probably why I have so much nostalgia with the issue as well, especially when you get into, like, if you look at Billy right here, not only the lack of really border, the 2-page spread, but even the line work and the scratchiness of your art gives me like warm and fuzzies of 90s comics. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful, man.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Well, and we are, because this is going to sound a little bit weird, but again, Jonathan and myself are both artists, and we came from inking. Jonathan draws a lot more than me, but I also draw a little bit. So one of the things that was really important for us was to capture something that would really excite us. And we talk about this a lot, Jonathan, because we've mentioned this. Sometimes we brainstorm layouts together, the same as Jonathan brainstorms the story with me. He just created a character recently that's changing some stuff up in the story and everything. So as much as we want to entertain the audience and hopefully create a cool book, we really want to entertain ourselves. So we even have to be, Jonathan sometimes tells me, because I do the first pass and I'm like, this issue has 4 splash pages and 2 double spreads. And he's like, dude, like, aren't you supposed to tell a story too? Is it just posters? And I was like, well, they're only showing up when they're needed. Because I do miss sure, we're telling a story. Everything needs to be there. But I think I speak for the both of us, and Jonathan will interject after, but it is fun. I love turning the page and bam, there's like a cool moment there.
I mean, that's the foundation of Image Comics, though, right? When you think of the birth of Image Comics, it was artists that brought forth that birth. And the popularity, obviously, amazing stories across the board. But let's be honest, especially in the 90s, the stories kind of went in a lot of different ways, and you're like, what the hell's going on? But the art was just, holy crap, man.
Yeah.
I'm counting Rob Liefeld's pockets, and it was just amazing, man. The artwork just, it almost spit on you as you were reading. You had to like wipe your face from the spit because it just hit you in the face every time you went. And so the expectation when you go into anything Image, specifically Spawn, is that the art's going to capture you and the story's going to keep you. But the art has to be there, and to be part of that longevity of some of the best artists to ever touch a comic book coming from the Spawn universe. I mean, you're in that now, right? And obviously you have an amazing storyline of a character that we didn't know much about, and now we're getting a story of it. But man, the art has to be there for Spawn, and it's there, man. And so I freaking love it.
I appreciate it. I think like when it comes to like the splash pages, like I just, for me, I don't want it to ever feel like I'm doing a splash page to sell a piece of art.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you get what I'm saying, like,
yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna do something cool because I know this will sell, kind of thing. Because it's it's not what I'm thinking. And then the other thing is like I have to tell Daniel, it's like, dude, like how many? I can't think of a cover. This could have been a cover. So
well, one of them does become a cover.
So
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
We got another Eric says, is there a Cherub version of Redeemer to battle Shirley down the road? Would love to see a story arc with Shirley and Andy, like Andy gifting Shirley a red wagon.
That would link things a little bit. But no, as of now, like I said, again, we're not collabing with anything in the Scorched or any of the other ones, so they're still separated and everything. Like I said, we have our own version, and that's why we created things in our corner so we don't have to keep up, because there's been different iterations of Angel Force. As you know, in the early issues, they at a certain point they were even in satellites around Earth, and they have flaming little heads. And then then we had the Angelas and Tiffany's and all of the ribbons and the Godsends. Brett Boot is doing and Barbaria are doing a lot more almost mechanized things, and we wanted to go back to like old school. That's why, again, the two focal angelic forces per se if you can call it. It's Boots and the character that we introduced, which is the Crimson Seraph. That there's an image of him already out, and I can't. When issue 3 gets solicited in a week or two, he's cover A that Jonathan did, and the coloring for that is with the art is just gorgeous. So our version is not necessarily a little cherub, because again he's like biblical in his design, just full of eyes, and it's just like this gigantic Hulk. And again, not every angel is out to do God's bidding. So, there's a lot of that, especially when you're in your own corner of hell. Maybe sometimes you're just bored and want to smash stuff. We'll see where.
I did mention a cherub, though, if you remember, Daniel.
I did. Yes, you did.
I won't go into but there's certain things where my sense of humor is a little bit different. So I wanted to do something with a cherub. I don't know. I keep hammering at Daniel about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we can, again, because the book has a lot of different tones, because sometimes it has Shirley being a bit erratic, and we don't really know what's going on with her. Again, there's another clue that I don't think a lot of people picked up on, and you can feel free to go and look at it. It's on the second part in those black and white pages when she's remembering her mom. If you look,
that's Wanda.
Yep.
Oh, Wanda's not her. I looked at that picture and I said, well, that's Wanda. And I'm like, wait, Wanda wouldn't be Shirley's mom.
Shirley doesn't know what's going on either, but we'll get there.
I
did pick up on that, but I didn't understand.
Let me say this. So what people don't realize, which no one would know this.
Yeah.
Everybody always, when there's an image teased out, or if I post an image or whatever, so think about this whole process of we're working on this forever, right? And it's that looks really cool. Da, 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 da. Nobody gets to read what Daniel's writing. So it's cool to be on this live stream because now Daniel gets to see some of the fruits of being locked away in the closet and not ever hearing anything or getting any feedback or anything like that. Sometimes it's very difficult to create completely in the dark and not have something come your way, negative or positive. So finally he gets to kind of get a little bit of that, and he hasn't really experienced it because I was in Dallas and I was calling and texting him. He's like, how's it going? Have you seen very many books? And then I sent him a photo of like a stack of, it was like this, and it was 2 stacks, and they were our book. Yeah. And I'm like, there's just been a steady stream of that book. And I didn't even think I would see that. I had no reference point of I see a lot of Court of Owls all day, all the time. Yeah. But to see that sort of come in pretty heavy like that was pretty cool. And he'll experience that in New York.
Oh, yeah.
At New York Comic Con. So it's a whole different thing where you finally get to share with the fans what you've been creating.
Yeah.
So it's a cool thing.
No, and we are. I know this. Go.
I say sorry, Daniel. I wanted to ask you and Jonathan. You guys have been working on this. It's a passion project. You guys have been working on this for a while now, a couple years, putting your blood, sweat, and tears into it. Like how nervous were you pre-Wednesday? Before this release, like how much stress got relieved once that finally came out, and they said, guys, we're going in for a second printing. That had to feel like awesome.
Me and Daniel have 2 very different personalities.
Yeah.
I think Daniel was more, were you more of a wreck kind of nervousness about it?
I was very nervous in one thing, and this might sound weird, conceited, and nervous at the same time. So I feel like I have a really good grasp on the story is going. I know the universe really well, so I know why everything is happening and where it's going to go. And there's literally nothing that's unanswered because I have it all down to the. And this is a tiny little thing, like in the Belleathon pages, you see that there's some roses there. That's a reference from issue 40 something. Like everything is connected. There's tentacles in everything. That don't necessarily mean anything. Like I said, it's just the care that I put into this. But at the same time, I knew that Jonathan's storytelling and art were freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But I knew that. I've been telling you that. But I also knew that I decided to tell the story in a weird way. It's an unusual beginning of a story. And like I said, even moving forward, it's not like every other book where everything gets explained right away, because I really want us to discover it as Shirley is discovering it. So there's always going to be things, there'll be a little interludes with characters showing up and all of that, but there won't be grand introductions of, and I'm Mr. So-and-so, and I've been here and there. Like, you're not going to have any of that. It's, like I said, it's a fast-paced story. We're discovering a lot of stuff. She's growing through trauma. Jonathan knows I have an issue with spelling ages. That's my Achilles heel with English. Which, like I said, even the stranger has his own quest. Why was his entire village dead at his feet?
Right.
Again, and then we just glossed over it. Even I had a talk with Rory, who's writing King Spawn and wrote Spawn for some. Like, I love his writing. I think he's doing great for the universe. And he asked me some of this stuff. He was poking holes at the story to see what hold up, and I think I had explanation for everything. That's one of the things he said. Oh, like everybody was dead, and then it just goes away. Like, well, yes, because they're running. They can't stay there because barely any time has passed between issues. They're just on the run, and we see right away. Boots is running to chase them. Belleathon is after them. Simon Pure is going towards them, and there's going to be more people. And all of that also makes sense to the why. But then it also, and again, this is a problem we created for ourselves, but it doesn't allow us for grand explanations while they're going through all of this. We will get there, like I said, and hopefully people will be patient. Like, we're very, very happy already with the support that we've had so far. None of us ever thought that, like, we were happy of, like, God, I hope this at least sells enough for an issue 2. So the fact that it sold out and it's a $5.99 book, you were saying that it's almost a double issue. It's more than a double issue, because it's just of art, it's 42 pages. Then with dialogue and everything, it's 44 plus everything. It's like 48, something like that. So it's a lot of bang for the buck, in my opinion. But I get it. It's intimidating to just look at a high price point. So we're really, really grateful for all of the support so far.
And it seems like the more Shirley and Stranger move, the more eyes come on them, right? It's like they sense movement that doesn't belong or something, and it just creates more of that same issue. Sorry, John.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and to answer the original question, when Daniel was talking for a half an hour. Yeah, it's half an hour.
Keep him in a closet and don't let him see daylight.
This is what happens when say, now the book is out. No, you were asking, like, were we nervous or whatever? I think we're in a weird way. We're almost kind of always in two different places, because it's all like I'm so focused on the drawing part and the art part, and it takes up so much time. He can be thinking about things down the line where I can't. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when we come together and we're talking about stuff, and he's down here, and I'm like, I don't know what, I'm just right here right now. So it was hard for me to even like think of like it was on my mind like, oh yeah, the book comes out Wednesday or on the 21st or whatever day that is. But it wasn't like I didn't have any. Like you said, I was happy if a few people picked it up and we could do some more issues.
Yeah.
I did not expect going back to a second printing kind of thing. And numbered, books they ebb and flow, they dip and whatever. But we're just like trying to always on the phone, trying to come up with some more cool stuff. Like he has an idea for something that's like, I told my wife and she's like, oh my God. If you guys do that, that's so freaking cool. So, there's a lot of cool stuff we want to do. And hopefully we get to do it.
And for me, that's the exciting part. And again, I think it's very obvious that I talk a lot. Jonathan also talks, but not a lot, because
mostly cuss.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually going to go to that because, again, the whole basis of the book, when we did the announcement at San Diego, Todd called us on stage and was like, Daniel, what's the book about? And I went on, and the book is like this, and Shirley like that, and blah, 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 big thing, and I in the universe, and blah, blah. And then, and Jonathan, what are you trying to get out of this book? I just want to draw cool shit. And that's why the splash pages and everything like that is really important for us within the story, and I think it makes sense within the story. But I think it makes, in my opinion, a good team of us doing this because we're trying to have fun together with something that makes sense, and again, hopefully people will be coming along with the story and with us. And
all right, so I do have a question about the story, and you mentioned this just recently. It's in the second part, and it's where. Did you say the blue guy's name is Mal?
Yeah, something
okay.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's where he is talking to the demons, and he says, "Okay." He says, "Now where was I?" He says, "Ah, yes." He says, "Feeding my roses."
Oh no, that's Belly of Fun. I'm sorry, Mal is the blue one that's talking to you. That's Belly of Fun.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is and like the next page is like the guy's open mouth with fish hooks. I don't know.
Well, he's just in the previous page. And another funny thing about that, all of that weird speech there, if you pay real close attention, you can read it.
Oh yeah, this is fun.
What?
Yes.
Did you try to read that?
You can actually read it.
I did not. I just thought it was. All right, let me see.
No, it's easier on the second
you can.
page.
Oh, you okay.
Some is harder than others in the beginning.
No, I see it. It says, "Yes, master," and then "At once, master."
Yep.
I did not realize that was actually.
It's not important
cool.
for the story, but
that's cool though.
But again, it's one of those fun things that I think like we personally have fun with, and hopefully it's that thing again where you say something to someone, oh, but did you read? Could you read what they were saying? And they're obviously, most people are going to say, no, I thought it was just gibberish or whatever, their language. It's like, well, go read it again. And it's fun.
That goes again to the whole, like, we're new at this, so we want to try cool stuff because it's like, okay, this is hell. Why does everybody speak perfect English? Maybe his creations, because he is a necromancer, and there's going to be still a lot of stuff behind this. All of these creations of him are experiments and everything. Maybe they have their own language with him. But in the character is just like because he is, we call him a necromancer, but in my head is this twisted, dark scientist necromancer of a character per se, and he was just in the middle of one of his torture experiments, and I forgot the name of those characters. Those are, they appear in the main Spawn storyline. They were like contestants to the throne. What's the name of those guys in red with the tattoos? They gave them a name because they were supposed to be stronger than Spawns and everything. I forget the name.
Remember.
Yeah, but they're not a big part anymore. But my thing was, they were supposed to be so strong, and he's here just carving one open and almost treating him like fertilizer for his roses. And the roses will play.
Oh, that's okay. That's what he meant. I got you.
Yep, it will play a big part in the story moving forward. It's not just a throwaway line. It's just a little bit of what's coming.
And
I even was like, oh yeah, what the hell are the roses down?
Yep.
Well, yeah, and the colors are awesome. Yeah.
The colors are awesome too, yeah.
And then Jonathan, I was thinking about, you had said that you, like I said, you don't like to draw cars or buildings, but I couldn't help but think that as I was going through here, all the chains that are wrapped around Shirley and that are all over the place, if you were getting tired of drawing chain shit.
Yeah, I complain a lot. Like, oh man. I
Yeah.
tend to want to break things. Like, how do we get rid of something?
That's what I'm saying. Are you on the phone with Daniel for like 8 hours saying, all right, how can we get her out of these chains? Let's make it go.
Well, I will say those are problems entirely manufactured by Jonathan himself, because he's doing all of the designs to the characters.
Okay.
This is
so-
self-inflicted then.
Self-inflicted.
We've talked
it
about
is.
the Stranger in the Gauntlet, because Jonathan drew this badass gauntlet in the Stranger, and for months now he's been going, think we can come up with something that we just destroys Gauntlet? There's some weird angles to draw it at. That's like, you created it.
He's gonna have a pocket knife by issue 5.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't mean I was smart, you know, when I did it. But that's another thing that goes back to what I was saying like earlier, as far as like this, you'll see a progression in the style, shifting and changing, not more organically, but because I'm becoming more comfortable with the characters. So I mean, that's throughout from Spawn 1 to, you know, now it's constantly evolved. So, but yeah, we're always trying to, and a lot for the longest time, like, what do I do with this sword, Daniel? Like, sometimes I think practically, while he's thinking like more like a comic book, like how a comic book would be. Like, you don't have to doesn't have to have a strap or whatever. He just puts it on his back. And I'm like, but,
true.
But how? How does it stay there? I gotta make sense out of it. He's like, dude, we're writing a thing where they're in hell. Like, what do you mean you have to make sense out of it?
He has a magnet on his back and it just sticks there.
Well, Spawn's cape, right, is part of him. What if the sword was part of him and it kind of just absorbs into his back? There's different things I think you could do, Jonathan.
Well, well, technically, we talked about the creation of the sword, because again, the sword, it does have, I don't want to say it just goes into his back like that, but it is more his. It is very personal to him in that he created it kind of way. Well, again, we'll get to that too.
Exactly. Petition to make Jonathan draw the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
It'll just be a boxing glove.
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, Daniel, is there any chance that you'll be doing a cover? Corey wants.
Yes. Issue 3. Issue 3 cover B.
Fast.
Nice.
Really fast.
Issue 3. Issue. Like I said, issue 1. The cover A's are always going to be Jonathan, and this is not a slide to anything, but in the Spawn universe right now, covers are a little bit random, be it the artist or whatever. Like, we're sticklers to, you know, Jonathan is the creative force behind all of the visuals of this. Cover A always has to be his, so that's like a non-negotiable. We're big fans of the actual artist doing the covers. So, and then we have go.
Not even just the artist. Well, yes, that, but I think we're big fans of the cover having something to do with
100%. 100%.
And I think that's missing
100%
in cover art right now.
Oh yeah, I picked up
everybody is doing a cover.
This dope, and you go in, there's nothing to do with that.
Has nothing to do with it. Has nothing to do with it.
Yep.
And some people might say, well, it doesn't. You know, that's not important. But to me, it was always important.
Yep.
It is important as when I see the cover, I want the interiors to be. Even though I do covers on other books, for me, I still want, like, that was a big thing with our book. We wanted it to be
but I mean, but that's what cover B's are for. Because again, our idea is cover A, Jonathan knows what he's doing and doing what he wants to represent his visual world that he's creating on the inside. In cover B, we get, because we didn't even call it like, oh, we're getting, you know, cover art, whatever. We almost felt like we're getting guests that we look up to do covers for the book. In the only direction that they have is do whatever you want, you know, just draw cool shit, for lack of a better wording. So that's the approach that we're getting, and so far it's been good. Like I said, the covers for issue C, for issue 3 will be cover A, Jonathan, with a badass Crimson Seraph cover. Then now cover B is mine, and, you know, keep your eyes open for cover C that might be showing up. That's going to be pretty special.
Nice. Well, let's go ahead real quick. I just want to show everybody, because if you are reading the comic, this is an amazing full page spread within the comic book. And because it sold out, and within 1 week of this being released, it already went to a second print, and they used that same image from the beginning of the book as the cover for your second print, issue number 1. So be on the lookout for this as well. This right here should be a t-shirt. This thing is so freaking badass, man. I love this. So this is your cover.
No, I was just looking at this. I'm like, did she come through before or after him? That looks like the same alley.
Same alley.
Yep.
Yeah, he's standing there blocking the way, and she's at the other end of the alley trying to come through. It's a standoff.
No, that's just me being lame, copying myself.
No, I was not faulting you for copying. It just made me think that they were there together.
Yeah.
And the guests you had as well is absolutely incredible. We have the Ryan Otley, which is the 1 in 50 that my buddy Mark bought 50 issues so he could get it from the comic shop.
Yeah.
I did not do that, so I'm gonna have to get it on eBay or something way overpriced. But here, I'm one of my favorite artists as well is Dan.
Yeah.
But this is phenomenal as well. So this is issue 2, cover B, which looks phenomenal. And then we have cover A right here, which is Jonathan here. And these covers are dope, man. I cannot wait for issue 2. Comes out July 23rd. It's just too long. This should be like an every week book.
Then they'll get burnt out.
Yeah, we don't want to kill you guys.
No.
I cannot wait for this, man. Cannot wait for it. So a lot of fun stuff coming up just from a cover standpoint, and I cannot wait to see issue 3 cover. And then yours, of course, Daniel. It'd be awesome to see your cover, and I'm glad you're doing one.
Well, but we ended up doing it like this too, because we're all going to be at New York. So we get to, in the issue 3 comes out right before New York. So we can be there together holding everything. So, because I don't want to take a spot from the artists that we look up to and we're like inviting per se. And we've been having like tremendous support of people wanting to do them. So it's very exciting for ourselves as well. See people wanting to play a little bit in this sandbox, which is pretty cool, because again, and even Shirley's already showing up in little places here and there. I'm probably butchering his name, but Bjorn Behrens, I think it's his name. One of the covers that he did for Spawn with Kinkaid had a little missing poster of Shirley, and she's showing up here and there, which is pretty cool.
That's so cool. Any chance our other Portuguese friend might be doing a Shirley Johnson cover?
There is a Portuguese friend who already did a cover, but it's not the one that Milton is thinking about. But I would love to, because I'm pretty sure he's talking about a good friend of ours called Miguel Mendonça. He's a really great artist. He's doing a lot of Batman stuff. We would love to have him at a certain point. But the one problem we're facing right now is we're bi-monthly, so we only get, like I said, we're looking at it as guests. We only get 6 guest spots per year, give or take. So it's very easy to fill up right away. So we'll get to everybody that we like.
Yeah, eventually, right? Eventually. And then Milton said cover A is his favorite. Yeah.
You were talking about, the future issues, and I was just curious. So I know it's going to be like they're each going to be a double issue, but are they going to be split up like into?
They're not going to be double issues. Yeah,
is this just going to be a single, or single?
Yep. Everything moving forward is just single issues.
Okay.
And the price is
it comes back to $3.99.
$3.99.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was just misunderstood. I thought maybe being bi-monthly that it was 2. Okay. I got it. No.
Well, because again, we're okay with talking about this. This is our first book. We didn't want to trying to bite too much, and mess things up. And Todd is a fan of how books used to come out bi-monthly back in the Marvel days and everything. So we decided to put a monthly schedule on it, a bi-monthly schedule, I'm sorry. So we're sure that we're delivering, And at the same time, there's also a lot of Spawn books right now. So hopefully it gives people a little break in their wallets and they're okay with following our story that's not breaking the bank every month too. I think it works in every direction. And we get to create things without too much pressure of messing the book up.
Eric Powell, if people don't know who Eric Powell is, amazing artist, does the Goon. His art style would be perfect for Shirley Johnson cover as well. Again, everybody wants to give you ideas of who you should go after next, but I agree with Eric on that one. He would be.
Yep.
I love Eric Powell and I love the Goon. That's one of my favorite comics. So I got quite a few of the titles. So, but he would be amazing as well.
Yeah. And again, you guys kept mentioning, because we were like that Ryan Otley cover, even us were just like, oh Jesus, because we wanted a connection to somebody who was already part of the universe for issue 1. So, and he did, you know, Haunt for quite a long time. We love it. And then when he showed the cover, because it's not every day that you see Spawn on a leash and Shirley is holding him on a leash. That is just the greatest cover.
Yep. I love that cover.
And then, you know, we kind of, like, everyone, there's this expanded universe that we've been talking about. And, you know, everyone's doing different titles. So not all of it will line up, because obviously Rat City's in the future. There's certain things that are going on that probably wouldn't make sense. But do you foresee other characters from other titles in the expanded universe, whether like a Nyx or something like that, that could be also making in a bigger way? Or
yes,
like nod twice, yes, nod.
No. I will, like I said, it is an original story that it is following her, but she's in this already established universe that we couldn't get away even if we wanted to, in a sense. You know, that's what we wanted to. So you will be seeing other characters show up. But again, like I said, in ways that it makes sense. Yeah. In Spawn, technically now, is even involved in time travel. I mean, in the main Spawn title, you just got, what was his name? Daniel Lonzo, I think it is, the Curse of the Spawn. Like, he's in Spawn now, so he's from way in the future. So a lot of things are possible. Again, even technically, a lot of the stuff related to Shirley and even the Stranger and everything, it has a lot of connections to all of that. So, well, like I said, it is going on its own path. You will 100% see new characters. So I will even say, keep your eyes open for the end of this arc.
Ooh, I love it. Now, how much, like, have you already had some ideas talking before you even jumped into issue 1 on new development of characters that you wanted to bring into the Spawn universe? Being artist and being attached to Spawn already, were you already thinking like, oh man, I'm going to start building out my own characters I would love to bring into the Spawn universe?
Was it for me? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we're always on the phone. We're always talking anyway. So like, we're thinking of like, what would be cool visually and things like that. Some of it isn't. Some of it is like, you're almost designing some characters a bit on the fly. Everything isn't so mapped out that you have like all these design sheets all over the place. But sometimes we're just talking about stuff. Like, we just had I was in Dallas and we were talking on the phone, and he had an idea for something really cool, and I was just like, oh man, that would be so freaking, people would go nuts. I can't say what it is. I'm not even gonna hint what it is, but I'm desperate to draw it though.
Yeah.
Because it was that cool.
Well, and like I said, because a lot of this stuff, and sometimes when we're coming out with ideas, because like I said, we have a very unusual relationship of being on the phone all the time. And sure, I'm doing the writing, and sure, Jonathan is doing the art, but it mixes a lot. Like I said, there's even like this one character that I had a story for him, and it was going to end at a certain point, and Jonathan was like, "Hey, dude, what if we do this? What if he turns into that?" And I was like, "Holy shit, yes!" Let's do it. And, you know, so that is how we're creating. And I think it maybe comes from our background as inkers, that we are fond of the collaboration. It wouldn't make sense to try to create things in isolation. I would never dream of just trying to come up with something and, come on, Jonathan, no, just put this on the page, or to have Jonathan feel constricted in his own creations as well. And I mean, everything that we talk, because that's why Boots doesn't look like Boots in the book, or Simon Pure, because time has passed. Every character that will show up, very likely will not be how he was when we last saw them, because the universe kept moving, and that is part of what we want to show here, because the universe kept moving, so if, like you said, and there's certain things like Nicks and everything, and if stuff is happening in current times, if by some chance they mingle, we have to be mindful of that. But other than that, we really get to revamp it, or either fully create or revamp the parts that we think overlap, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I do like the fact that when you introduced Boots into the story, he had his blue hat on. That made me happy.
Yeah. And so the Boots, when FCO, that was one of the color notes, because
it had to be blue.
Well, I think he didn't change it. They look more brown.
And the boots too, boots, because he also has the cowboy boots. Yeah,
they were too they got washed out. And Daniel was saying how important it was for us to see that they were the cowboy boots, and
as far as all of this stuff and little details and everything, I am what it's called sometimes a pain in the ass, because I am so oh no, we need this kind of thing because it's important. But why does the hat has to be a specific? Because it was like this.
And see, that's what helped. That's what I think is a good part of is part of good storytelling, is you pay attention to the small details, because not everybody that's read Spawn might remember that Bootsy always wore a blue hat, but for those of us that do, it's a nice feeling to know that you as a writer, or as the colors or the artist, paid enough attention to that character, the way they was designed, to introduce that to the fans, and we immediately know who it is. They might not be exactly the same, but there's enough of the original character there that we're like, okay, that's that's who that is, and that to me, I really appreciate that.
Well,
sorry.
No, go.
When I was in at Dallas Fan Expo, I had a pretty interesting experience with fans that picked up the book, and I tell you what I noticed, and I was telling this to Daniel because I thought it was important for Daniel, since he hasn't experienced this yet. What I noticed and what made me feel rewarded the most was I had a young lady that came up and read the book and loved it, went nuts. But she hadn't read all of the other Spawn stuff.
Yeah,
interesting.
And then I had an old school guy come up and talk about all of the nods to the Spawn stuff that he had read before. On and on about issue 5, and those were, so you got excitement from two different eras in a way that are coming onto something new for the first time. So for me, I feel like it hits everybody, it grabs everybody in who have a love for the Spawn universe.
You gave us, sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say you gave us enough nostalgia. It was just enough. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't in your face. You just subtly peppered it in, and that was really cool to me.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, because we don't want that. You don't have to be a current Spawn reader and know everything for this, because you're just going to have information given to you with a delay in comparison to people who know the universe. So a lot of people who already know the universe, they recognize Boots and all of that. A lot of people maybe didn't, but when Shirley and Boots come together, she will have to get to know him. So there will be an explanation of who he was, what happened, his connection to Hal. Again, the information will come. We're not just dropping characters. Like I said, we're telling the story in a different way. We don't want to have to introduce everything to then have to explain it again when Shirley meets a certain character, because she doesn't know anybody. She was a tiny little kid who's just now on this crazy world. She ends up with her heart ripped out, so it's hard we don't want to have to be explaining things twice. It will be explained, but like I said, we're not trying to throw all of this in there just for the sake of nostalgia. Because again, like if you go back and read the final Boots issue, and he's taken away because he breaks the rules and everything, but he ends up saying something to Al Simmons, something of like, there will be a child, something like that. And it's been speculated that maybe it was Cyan, something like that. That it never gave any fruition, but who knows what childs are appearing now that Boots is involved with.
But even if I was not, I do try to step back and look at it objectively. Even if I was not, a Spawn fan, it's still great as a standalone story. There's enough in that book to, make readers want to pick up issue 2.
And I think that's a unique skill, Daniel, to have, to be able to tell a story that does tie into the greater world, but still a new person could jump right in and enjoy it. So I think you both did an amazing job on that. But from a writing perspective, that's pretty hard to do, I think.
Yeah.
Not always. There's always that idea to do it because you want to capture new people on a long running book, but not always is that easy to do.
Which is, it's a good thing to have Jonathan as a partner per se in the creation, in the sense of him not knowing anything. That is very helpful in this sense, which is,
that was a compliment, by the way, Jonathan.
No,
it
is. It is a sounding board that I needed in the sense of I want to say a lot of stuff. Some of this stuff will only pay off very later on, but read it and see if it makes sense. You don't know anything, you know what I mean? So that was very necessary, to be honest.
I love it. That's hilarious. This is a really great question from Milton. Is there a planned ending for Shirley Johnson? And Todd at one time said if he ever wanted to end Spawn, he knows how he'll do it.
Yes. There's definitely a very established idea if necessary to stop it, but I'll even give the same answer that Todd gives with Spawn, which is he knows the ending. He hopes that he never has to write it.
Yeah. Fair enough. I love that. Amazing, guys. Well, we're at an hour and a half. I don't know what time it is where you're at, Daniel.
It's 12:30.
12. Yeah.
He goes to sleep at 2. We can still.
Yeah. No. I'm literally like, when we get off, I'm still gonna ink a little bit more. So.
Yeah.
I'm working on something super special.
Yeah.
I gotta finish before I head off to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for hanging out with us. I'm hoping after issue 2 we could do this again, especially since it is every 2 months. Again, phenomenal book. Already a second print. I feel like I got home and read it, and I read the news. There's a second print already for issue 1. So always you can see the excitement around this character. I have a feeling that of all the books that are out, Thomas Healy will get a figure of Nick's for sure, just because he's in Todd's ear. But I would love a 2-pack of The Stranger and Shirley Johnson.
Hey, we already got Teddy
with Teddy T.
Yeah, we got. Oh wait, where'd he go? There he is. There's Teddy. I couldn't tell in the book if it was just his legs that were missing, so he lost the whole.
It's exactly like that.
It's that.
Oh,
yep, you nailed it. Yeah, you got it right.
And then Jonathan draws the stuffing coming out in the shape of guts, almost. But that's that's pretty much it,
guys. I love it. Yeah. Appreciate you both very much. Thank you for your time. And can't wait to do this again. Really excited for issue 2, guys.
Thanks for the support. Yeah. Thanks, to everybody for the support.
Congratulations on your issue number 1. It was awesome.
A banger way to start out, man. For everybody that joined us in the chat, thank you. Appreciate you very much. We'll have these guys back again after issue 2, hopefully, and we'll dig in to find out some of the questions that we had for tonight that they can't answer quite yet. But bam, appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.